Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is literally my first proper video since having Penelope. I am 2 weeks postpartum now, and I thought it was time to get back into the swing of things and get back into YouTube again, as I feel completely ready now to start uploading again. Obviously it might not be as consistent or as regular as what it was before, but I'm going to try and upload when I can. So for those of you that don't know, obviously I had a baby just over 2 weeks ago now, and I have documented pretty much the whole of my pregnancy bar the labour itself, because that was pretty tough, and I am going to tell you my labour story. It was still a very positive experience, and obviously this is just my experience. I'm not telling you guys this to scare you or to put you off or anything like that. This is all just my experience. So without further ado, we are going to get on into this video. So where do I start? I'm going to try and keep this quite short and sweet if I can, but there is sort of a lot to tell you guys about what happened and things like that. So on the 15th of May, I had to go for another growth scan. This was because, again, I'd had another lot of reduced movements, and obviously after 2 episodes, every time they will send you for a growth scan. So on the 15th, I had gone, and baby was measuring big. She was estimated at £8.11, and they were a bit concerned about the size of her belly. Her belly was obviously measuring slightly on the larger side, and at this point when I had gone for the scan, I was 38 weeks and 4 days, so I still had a couple of weeks to go. So they sent me up to triage on that day, and I had a meeting with the consultant, and we decided that actually it would probably be better for me if I was to be induced on the 19th, which then I would have been 39 weeks and 1 day. So they were happy to bring me in then and induce me. However, after this was decided, obviously I'd gone home, I felt absolutely fine, nothing to sort of pinpoint that anything was going to happen. And then at 6 o'clock that evening, I started to get some cramping, and I just thought it's probably just where I've been on my feet all day, where I've been sat for ages. Obviously when I was in the hospital there was sort of a long old wait. Holding in a wee like can trigger my backache and things like that, so I just literally thought nothing of it and just thought it was just general like back cramping. However, the cramping got a little bit more intense, so I'd actually just sort of put it off, had my tea, went to go pick the pushchair up from my mum's, and I was stood talking to my mum, and I was still getting all these crampings, but I was still like, no, it's not happening. Ended up going to the toilet at my mum's, and I actually had a bit of my bloody show. So that was about 8:30 when that had sort of happened. Again, I was like, nothing's happening, like it's still not, I'm still like, I'm not in labour, this isn't the start of it or anything like that. So I literally still put it off. We went home. I came home and had a bath and just chilled out, and then from about 9:30, 9:45, I then started to time the crampings, and the crampings were coming every 2 to 5 minutes, and they were lasting anywhere between sort of 30 to a minute long. But again, still in denial. I was like, this isn't happening. So I ended up going to get into bed and try to sleep it off, and I couldn't. I got into bed and I was very uncomfortable, so I got up and started pacing, and I was like, okay, is this really happening, is it not? And then I decided at 11:30 to ring through to triage at the hospital and just explain what was happening. explained that I didn't think I was actually in labour, and that I just thought maybe it was just cramping or it was the start, but they told me to come in so that they could check me. So we got to the hospital and I was taken into triage. They were pretty quick, and at about 12:30 when they checked me, I was actually 4 centimetres dilated. They were debating whether to send me home, but because my contractions started coming thick and fast, they decided to keep me in. So I was really shocked. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I am not 4 centimetres, surely. But I was, which was good. That was a good thing. I was hoping to be up on the birth unit, but because I had bouts of reduced movements, I was unable to. However, in the hospital that I gave birth in, there was a room called the Jasmine room, which is set out exactly like the birth unit rooms. I had my birth pool and I had a really nice calm setting, so that was still really nice. And then at 12:40 in the morning, I was transferred down to the Jasmine room. And when I got there, about 1 o'clock, I got into the birth pool, and I laboured in there, and it was so nice. I didn't get to do that with my first, so doing it this time round was actually really enjoyable, and I finally got to have my water birth that I never got the first time round. So from 1 a.m. till 3, I laboured in the birth pool, and then I decided to get out because I felt like my contractions were sort of slowing down. And I literally laboured in the birth pool with no gas and air. The midwives were finding it really hard to time my contractions and how long they were, because I was literally just so calm and just taking it in my stride. But I decided to get out because I just felt like they were slowing, it was like slowing down my contractions. But it was nice for those sort of 2-3 hours, just labouring in there in the pool, just feeling no pressure, and it did take the pain away quite a bit. It sounds bizarre, but water does help ease pain. But yeah, about 3 I got out, and then from 3 till 4:45 I just walked around and laboured, and still I had no pain relief. I still felt fine, but my contractions were starting to come on a lot more intense after I got out of the birth pool, so I know that maybe being in there had slowed them down. And then from 4:45, 5 o'clock, my contractions started to get very painful, so I then opted for the gas and air. I had gas and air before and it made me very sick. This time round I was fine with it, and that was great. So obviously I laboured with the gas and air, and it was doing the job. Like, it was working. So once I had started to obviously labour a little bit more, my contractions started to get more intense and I was on the gas and air. They then examined me, and I was about 7 centimetres, and I was stuck at 7 centimetres for quite a while, and it got to the point where I actually needed to push, even though I shouldn't have been. So basically what happened was, baby was actually back to back. I had no contractions in my belly at all, it was all in my back. And obviously they examined me. I was 7 centimetres because I was like, I feel like I need to push. So they were like, okay, you can start pushing. They examined me and I was only 7 centimetres, and they were a bit concerned because obviously I could cause more damage to myself trying to push when you're only 7 centimetres. And the contractions in my back were horrendous. I didn't believe it when people said that back labour was the worst pain ever. It really is, and I couldn't believe how painful it was, considering how my labour had started and how my contractions had started to that point where I felt like I needed to push and the contractions were coming thick and fast in my back. Like, it was just horrendous, and like, I feel so sorry for James having to literally watch me in that much pain, knowing that he literally couldn't do anything at all about it. And then roughly at about 7 a.m, like all the timings are like rough. I generally can't remember because the clock in our room had actually stopped, so I'm literally going off what they had actually written down in my notes and what I had sort of text people at certain times during my labour, like my mum. So I'm going off everything like that. Then roughly at 7ish, I think, they broke my waters to try and speed things along because I was still at 7 centimetres, my cervix were in the way, I still wasn't like dilating as quick as I should have, so they decided actually that was the time that they wanted to break my waters. So they broke my waters and I laboured again for a bit longer, kept going on the gas and air, and then they came to examine me again and they actually discovered that baby was facing the wrong way. So she was still head down, but she was facing, I can't actually remember, I think she was facing slightly to the left rather than actually like facing down, I think is the way that they're supposed to be facing. So she hadn't quite turned her whole head facing down, which was why I was having back-to-back, basically a back-to-back labour, and why my contractions were so bad because of the way her head was and the way it was pushing on my back, and it was making me want to push before I should, basically. And then around about 12 p.m, I started to get unbelievably tired. I was in so much pain and the gas and air just wasn't working for me. And I actually decided that I wanted an epidural. So anyone that knows me, and I'm pretty sure for everyone that's followed my pregnancy journey as well, knew that I didn't want an epidural, like that I was so against it. I didn't want it unless I absolutely had to. But I was at the point that I was in so much pain. I was tired. I was just at breaking point because I just felt like she should have been there by now because my contractions were thick and fast. I needed to push, but nothing was happening. So I opted for an epidural. James asked me, like, was I 100% that that's what I wanted, because he knew how much I didn't want one. And obviously I was sort of not really in a fit state to sort of say what I wanted, but I was absolutely sure that I wanted one because I was just in so much pain. So then I was transferred to what I would say is like a high risk delivery room. So it's obviously, if your class is high risk or if you go into labour early, you're put into a delivery room which has like all the monitors and everything like that. And I was given the epidural. It went in amazingly. The anaesthetist actually said it was probably one of the best ones that he'd done. And once I had my epidural, I was so much more comfortable. I was a lot more happier. I could talk, like I couldn't talk through my contractions at all when I hadn't had it. So I had the epidural, able to administer it every 15 minutes, or I could just press it when I could feel sort of the pain and pressure coming back. That was such a bizarre feeling, but honestly I was just so much more comfortable. And then they had to put like a peanut ball between my legs and I had to lie on my right side to try and turn baby. And I was led there for absolute hours on end. And then they came to check, and again, I think I was only about 9 centimetres. My cervix wouldn't finish dilating, and basically she had actually turned the other way, so she was facing the right, I think, or I can't remember, but she was still facing the wrong way and still not facing face down. So they were kind of at the point where my labour had gone on for so long. Obviously my waters had been broken. She was happy in there. I was hooked up to the monitor because obviously they had broke my waters and I was still going in labour and nothing was really happening. So they decided that actually they were going to try and let me push for at least half an hour to see if that would get things going, because I actually had oxytocin as well, because my contractions were irregular and they started to stop, so this was like kick-starting them. We tried pushing and unfortunately that did not work, so I had two options. The consultant came in and said it was either forceps or it was going to be a C-section. At this point I literally broke down and was like, I don't want either, like I just want her to come out, I want to push her out. But unfortunately that wasn't the option, so they decided, obviously, try push, try bring her down, and that had actually, it didn't fully work, but by the time I got down to theatre, she'd actually come down a little bit more, which is what they wanted, which is the sort of best thing that could have happened. So at 18:33 p.m. on the 16th of May, I was taken into theatre, obviously administered everything that needed to be administered, and I had a forceps delivery. I also had to have an episiotomy just to make the birth canal a bit bigger for her to come out. And even though it was one of the things that I didn't want, it was still an amazing experience. They still made me feel so calm, and it had literally been a really very long day. I had been in labour from basically 6 o'clock the night before, so it was literally over 24 hours. But yeah, I got into theatre and obviously they prepped me, and with every pull of the forceps I had to push just to help, but my body decided that it didn't want to contract anymore even though I was on the oxytocin. So they had to try and massage my belly to get the contractions for me to be able to push, for her to be able to come down, for her to be able to pull. It was all very crazy. And then at 18:52, Penelope was born. She was born 8/6, so the growth scan wasn't actually that far off, because they estimated her at £8.11. So they were not far off at all with her weight. And then obviously I was stitched up and then sent into recovery, so that I could get my feelings back in my legs, because obviously with an epidural and everything like that, your whole lower body is completely numb. But it was the longest 24 hours of my life. It was tiring, it was mentally and emotionally draining for both me and James. I cannot say how proud I am of James for sticking through it and obviously being my absolute rock when I just thought I couldn't do it. But even though things didn't go to plan for me, it was still an absolutely amazing experience. And even though I said, no, right, that's it, I'm not going to be having any more after Penelope, I'd do it all over again. I really, really would. And it was still very positive. I still got my baby girl from it. So yeah, that is literally my birth story, literally like shrunken down. It was incredible. It was tiring, it was scary, it was every emotion that you could feel. And obviously this was just my experience with obviously baby number 2. My first labour was absolutely fine, absolutely normal, no problems, no issues whatsoever, and this was the complete opposite, but still an absolute amazing experience. And I can't thank all the midwives, surgeons, consultants, everyone for obviously looking after us and making sure that our baby girl had arrived safely. But yeah, that is my birth story. I do hope you have enjoyed it or enjoyed hearing about it. Don't be put off. Always have an open mind when going into labour. And for anyone that is due to have a baby, good luck. It's the most amazing thing ever. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video here, and hopefully I will see you in a brand new video very, very soon. Bye.